here we go. That was just a test. Rolling. Welcome to Jolly Joe Justice Show. I'm excited for you to get to know my friend Will. Hennessy, you will see what he's meant to me. Oh yeah, I hope you can breathe in the clean air. Autumn is almost here. August, it goes so fast. We hope the memories last. Welcome to Joe's Java Jive. I am your host, Jolly Joe Jester. So happy to be here with the one and the only actor, improviser, incredible radio personality, voiceover artist, and more. Let's bring on our host, William Hennessy. How are
Hello,
you,
my
brother?
friend. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
You know, life is good and grand. I'm so excited to be here with you, finally having you on the podcast,
It's an
because
honor.
you're an honor, man. That's really, you
Wow.
could be a judge, really. Your Honor, I'm so sorry that we haven't had you on sooner, but thank you for being here today. And I thought we'd start with just what's your name again? Because, who are you and what do you do?
As you said so eloquently before, I'm Will Hennessy. That's the stage name. William's the full government name. You're gonna dox me here? No, I'm kidding. Um, as like you said, I'm an actor. I improv with you primarily, but also down in the city. It's a lot of fun. And then I do. Am I lagging? Is the video lagging?
No,
Is that what it is?
you're so beautiful. You're not
Oh,
lacking, you're not
stop.
lagging.
Stop, dude.
Everything's great.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna if I'm a judge, I'm gonna find you guilty of flattery in the first degree. That's what that is.
Oh,
Um, but I do music and writing and all that fun stuff. Anything I can get my hands on creatively, except I can't really draw or paint. Not really a skill set I've been able to master. But audio wise or writing is pretty good for me. So
yeah,
that's the general gist.
you're so many things, my friend, and what I've come to know of you is that you are really a lead actor. You're like the real deal. I love when you're in a happenstancery scene with me and improvising. But even way before that, I've gotten to know you as an actor. I think we met for the first time on set. Is that
Yes,
right?
that's true. I remember we met through a short film or a class project that was happening called it was called Improve, I think was the official name. The E was in parentheses, but you played an
Yes.
improv coach and I was one of the students, and it was a lot of fun. I got to meet the world famous Joe Davis.
Oh,
That was what he was known as in college, at least. Uh,
yes.
Now it's
Yes.
Jolly Joe Jester having fun, you know.
Yeah, we're having a ball. I'll always be famous Joe Davis, but just like you are, Will Hennessy, Joe's Java Jive is now the perfect place for us to unhash how this all happened. So, I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, that was a really fun, like almost peering into my future. Mickey Lynch
Yeah.
wrote the script about an improv teacher who is kind of a goofball. I think his backstory was that he like peaked as a antelope in Lion King off Broadway or something.
If I remember, yeah, I found the script to that recently. I don't have it on me, but it is still in my house. I do still have that, an
That's
actual
amazing.
printed copy of that script.
I
I'll
save
never
every
get rid of
script.
it. Me
You
too.
gotta.
Me
That's
too. It's like a memory, really, but also especially with plays that keep getting redone, it's a good thing, especially if you can use some of the material for auditions and stuff like that. Very useful, I
That
find,
that's
at
so
least.
true. Yeah, and if nothing else, you pick it up and you say, "Oh my gosh, I remember this. I remember this project."
Yeah.
And this one was one where we were all just having a ball in the TV studio of SUNY New Paltz. You graduated digital media production as well, or acting,
I was theater in
theater.
with a concentration of performance, and then I had a minor in audio engineering.
How was that going to school for theater? How'd you like it?
I loved it. I originally was in digital media when I was at SUNY Ulster, which is where I got my associates. And then I transferred over into theater because I really just found a very comfortable place in on stage and in front of the camera, and was not something I thought that I was good enough to do originally. But then I was like, this is really fun, and I really want to do this part of it as well. So I kind of full force went into that, and
Yeah,
I loved every second of it, whether it was the teachers at, Ulster, or the teachers at New Paltz. Like, the professors were absolutely amazing. Even to this day, I'll tell you this real quick. I work for a murder mystery company that we could talk about later, but we were filming a sketch to promote the upcoming auditions that have already happened even before we recorded this. Sorry, but there are more. Um, but I contacted one of the professors there. Shout out Catherine Doherty. She, despite me having not seen or spoken to her in like a few years, got back to me almost immediately and was like, "You can use a classroom if you need it," because that's what we were needing for the sketch, and it wound up completely working out. And it was, I value every single thing that I got from those professors, whether they were the acting professors or Sonny Kill, who was the audio engineering professor. All absolutely great, helpful people. The mentors that I've gathered through my journey, I am eternally grateful for.
no, I couldn't agree more with you there. It's just so amazing. And I even was recently on the Ulster County campus there as a with Nostrand, Christopher Nostrand, who was, I think, one of the producing teachers for
Hmm.
those TV production classes. But listening to you, man, you are so, like me. We transferred in and came into New Paltz. That's kind of the way to do it. I mean, I
Hmm.
felt like new, all excited going into junior year, where people who've been there for 2 years are like, here we go again.
Yeah. I think for me, it was more SUNY Ulster didn't require SAT scores. And
Yes.
I don't remember if New Paltz did, but that was kind of I was never academically enthusiastic about, math and all that stuff. So I was like, I don't know. I want to do TV stuff, so I'll just do the SUNY Ulster program, and
Yeah.
it wound up being very useful and a lot cheaper than some big name school. And
And
I've
you get those big credits out of the way, those basic credits. And I did
right.
the same thing in Corning, New York, and kind of revived the video production program because there was an empty studio and I created a club. And by the end of it, they were paying me to monitor the TV studio and manage the club.
That's wild. Did they not have like a program up there?
They did not. At the time, it was like the person had left, and it was not really a course that they had offered at the time. And, I always fantasize about going back there one day and seeing what it's all up to now.
Hmm.
But I was an IT member, and the guy who was sort of managing that space was looking for somebody. He got upgraded, and I remember I was laying on a couch in the studio because I was like already in there all the time, and they were coming in to look around and assume who's going to take over this job. And here I was sleeping in the studio in between classes. And they're like, maybe you could. You seem like you like this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I love it, man. So the community college, but well, I heard you say, you weren't sure if you were good enough to be an actor. Can you talk a little more about that feeling and
Yeah. I
how
mean,
you've overcome it?
I was very socially shy, and I still am in scenarios, and a lot of people will relate to this whether you have it or not. But like, especially in groups where I don't know anybody, or the ratio of people I know to people I don't know is way off, and I'll be much more silent and reserved. but I just had this huge stage fright and fear, and I didn't want to, I could picture uh doing it in my head, performing in various capacities, but it just wasn't something that I felt comfortable enough doing. Like I When I joined the drama club in high school, I wanted to be like a tech person. I didn't want to go up there, and
Yeah.
they basically were like, we need guys, which is the ever continuing epidemic that plagues every high school drama club. Is the the boys don't want to do it, and they need more of them, and they beg you. And I didn't take too much convincing, because that it sounded neat, so I did wind up joining. It was a production of Thoroughly Modern Millie, a musical that has not aged well, but it was a fun time to do it. I don't know if you know this. This is a fun fact. Um, the musical's rights holder, the current rights holder of Thoroughly Modern Millie, has is like hogging them, because they
Huh.
don't want to put it on unless they can like find a new way to sort of reinvent it to where it's not uh offensive in a couple of ways. In a
Yeah.
few, there's a few. It's more than just like, oh, there's a problematic character. No, there are a few. It's not. It's there's
Yeah.
a few issues with it, but it's still to go back to your question of, or at least proposition of exploring that. I was diagnosed with Asperger's as a kid and ADHD, and that's a lot of social stuff and not picking up on social cues and things. And once that was sort of discovered, I kind of was able to be like, all right, well, maybe I'm not like good enough. There was a lot of self-doubt in that, like, I
Mhm.
can't, like I can barely, I have issues functioning as myself on a person to person level now in front of an entire crowd, not realizing how different a dynamic that would be.
Mhm.
I was like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know. Once I got up there, I was like, oh, this is actually really fun, and I do enjoy this. I doubt that I
Yes.
could ever do it as a career. Lo and behold, here we are now. I mean, not that I'm,
You are,
booking
man. You're
stuff like
doing it.
all that stuff. I mean, I'm regularly working, which I'm thankful for. But it is still, something that I'm still pursuing, and we still are putting in 100% effort. Not that, you know, ever won't, but still, it's uh something. It definitely took me a long time. Like I said, I originally went to college for digital media production because I was more like, I don't know, I'll just be on cruise and I'll find my spot there and see what I can do, whether it's audio or I get in a room for writing, which I've always had a passion for. I've been writing ever since I was little. um so yeah, but then I was like, this performance stuff is just, it's too legit to quit. It's too good. I gotta get me some more of that. And then I
Yeah.
swapped over. So
I love it, Will. I mean, I didn't really know your background like that, and feeling that you even had any of that coming into it, because you're now so confident and so excited and gung ho, that I remember when it was your first time hosting a Happenstancery improv, you were sharing, this is kind of a big deal for me. And I was like, really? Like, you seem to be so on top of it now, which I think is what we all do, fake it till we make it. But nobody would ever know, your background, and that you once felt unworthy, or like, how am I ever going to do this?
I still do. I have major, I think they call it imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Like, it's like, I'm not meant to be here. And if somebody asks me the wrong question that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to be found out, and everything will fall apart. So,
Hmm.
but
Well, you are way beyond what your own image of yourself is. So, as
I
anyone
appreciate that.
watching this can already tell, you're got a great head on your shoulders, and it's amazing that for people listening who may relate to that, because we all have that and feeling, I could never do what these guys do, and oh my gosh, how do you? People say it to me all the time, because I started Happenstancery. They're like,
Mhm.
how do you do it? I could never imagine. It's the hardest thing I could ever imagine, is thinking up things off the top of my head.
Yep.
And I'm always telling them, well, you just have to come and try it, and you'll see that in a few minutes we can crack that shell open, and you'll be playing just like you were a kid. Like, it's
Mhm.
all about perspective.
Yep. Even from performers, like people who do it regularly, there's an attitude that, like, I could never, because in most cases you're working with a script, and sometimes people will come up with stuff on the spot and they'll be able to improv some jokes, but like doing a whole show like that, I could never. But once you
Yeah.
really get into the rhythm of it and doing the practice games, or you're doing a scene and you keep going, there's a especially when, like, obviously doing it through Happenstancery was a great breakthrough point. And I recommend anyone listening to this, if you haven't gone to a Happenstancery meeting by this point, Thursdays at 7 p.m. at the New Paltz Community Center, to absolutely do so. I'm going to start going back after we're recording this on the 27th, yeah, in September of this year, which is 2025. Future people watching, because I can't get enough. I love it so much, and I was sad that I couldn't do a lot of it once the summer hit, because I had a few things that I had to get done, few gigs, which was its own exciting journey. But I never want to leave this spot behind, because it's a great environment that you've created, and it's very encouraging to people who've never done it before, but also a great place to practice for people who have already done it, people at various skill levels, experience levels, that can all feel comfortable in this joining space and just have fun for a couple hours on a Thursday night. It's worth it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that glowing recommendation. And I love it so much. There's no need to apologize like for your amazing career taking off. I love seeing you on a New York City stage and your acting debut. I mean, this was an incredible thing. Lights, camera, action. The story
It
of
was camera ready. Yeah.
Camera
The
Ready.
story of Nelson Sullivan, who was basically, I'll talk about that a little bit if you'd like.
Yes, please.
It was my first, it was my off Broadway debut, unless you count Connecticut theater, in which case I did that. That was an Alice in Wonderland musical that I was actually not only cast in as the Cheshire Cat, but also asked to compose some music for, which was kind of wild. Because after we
Yes.
did the stage reading, or at least the cast reading in the studio, they were like, "We like what you did." They basically sent me a demo of the song and were like, "We're playing this on piano, and it's like this speak singy thing, but we want you to do something different with it on your guitar." And so I did, and they were like, "Do you write? Because if you do, you can put music here, 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 and here in the show." And I said, "Okay." So I wrote a couple of songs, we recorded them, and they were in that, which was really fun. That was something it's the furthest I've gone with the musical aspect of my career that I hope to expand upon um,
Yeah,
in the
you
future
were
as well.
amazing at that, and
But
how cool to be asked to make music for the production.
yeah, that was over at La Chotte Town Farm. Got to shout those guys out. That was a sort of interactive experience similar to what I do in the murder mystery realm, except that's all in one location. This was a guided tour of the farm through an Alice in Wonderland show, which I played the Cheshire Cat, and that was really fun. And we sang some songs and danced and had a good time. But then almost immediately after that, it was like it fell into my lap basically, because I was asked about this uh, by this gentleman named Gary Legault, who wrote this play, who was just looking for actors desperately to be in this play, this musical that he wrote in the city about Nelson Sullivan, who was a guy who, if you don't know who he is, very very large figure in the history of the LGBTQ community, and also in cinematography as a whole and content creation, because he basically invented video blogging, or vlogging as we know it today, or at least popularized it.
Mhm.
Obviously, he was active mostly in the 80s, so there was no YouTube to post the stuff to, but he was going to drag shows and walking the streets with his friends who are very famous. RuPaul, um, Andy, who am I think?
Warhol.
Warhol, yes, Warhol. He was friends with, like, all these popular people, and he unfortunately passed away, I think in '89, unfortunately due to a heart attack. But spoiler for the end of the play. But his story was really fun to explore, and I got to play his childhood friend, which was very lovely to do,
That was
and really
endearing.
appreciated that.
I
So
loved seeing you calling up the old friend, and I have friends like that from my
yeah,
hometown, and I'm
you
sure you
came
do
to the
too.
show. You surprised me, and I was very I was very appreciative of that. I had thankfully a lot of people showed up, but I was very you came on our closing show, which was
Yes.
very lovely of you to do. I really I value that. I appreciate that.
Well,
Thank you.
that's what I mean, man. I'm so proud of you, and I've been doing this Happenstancery thing for 5 years, and there's these classes of people, and then they go on to do two things. I think it's no coincidence that you came about a year before you came as a player to one of our open mics. I remember
Mhm.
did a little stand up, and
Yeah.
then this all happened while you were coming back and doing Happenstancery. All of a sudden, you're Cheshire Cat, you're in New York City, and now you also have your murder mysteries that you're always doing.
Mhm.
Tell us about that. What's the company that you
Uh,
do those with?
I work for ACME Mystery Company of the Hudson Valley specifically. There's a couple of branches. There's one up in Saratoga, and currently there's the secondary branch is the Hudson Valley. Saratoga is where that all originated. They used to all do them in one location, but basically the general idea, as short frame as I could explain it in, is that we put on murder mysteries across the Hudson Valley at various locations. And if you'd like, you can book it for your event and venue or your private party too. We do those, but we've played, restaurants and Elks Lodges and senior centers and all that stuff. And it's 5 characters, and there's tons of shows you can choose from. There's mafia, there's sci-fi, there's TV show parodies. There's we do a Y-Files, which is a parody of the X-Files, obviously. There's a Western that we're in. I play a sheriff in that one. There's, a James Bond kind of parody. There's a whole bunch of genre work and radio plays. Actually, there's 2 period piece radio shows, and I have played the radio host in both of them. Which
Nice.
is one takes place in the 20s, which I have to do a transatlantic accent for, and one takes place in the 60s that I sort of have to do this like, oh, don't you know, like kind of voice, which is
Fargo.
a lot of point. Yeah, pretty much. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we're always hiring actors and performers from the Hudson Valley, and it's a paid opportunity, and it's really free based on your schedule. It's cast out um, in advance, but to promote it as a show for an audience member that could be listening to this, you get to as an audience member participate in the show if you'd like. We go out and we mingle, we improvise, which is a big factor. Skills as an improviser translate to so much else as a performer, not just doing improv shows, but also doing scripted shows and musically. And it all really helps to have that skill under your belt. So if you can practice again, Happenstancery is a great free way to do that. But we go out around, introduce ourselves to the audience, table by table, and then we start the show, and you get to see the whole characters, and that part is scripted, and there's opportunities during said mingle period before the show officially starts where audience members can participate in the show. They can get lines where they can say stuff, or they can get stuff where they can do little dances or things of that nature, either as the whole table or as an individual. And at the end, you get to guess who did the murder, because one of the 5 characters winds up dying. Spoiler
That's the
alert.
fun part. Who done it?
It's always different. And then you get to guess, and if your answer was clever or as close to the answer as possible, we give the 3 great awards, the Agatha Christie Awards, to the smart people, and then the not so smart people, the funniest answers, get what they did not receive that night, which is the point. And we give out 3 awards to the funniest answers as well. That's pretty
Brilliant.
much the summary of everything. But they're great shows. I do them all over the Hudson Valley and occasionally Connecticut. We had a New England branch, but it unfortunately did not last very long. Maybe it'll come back at some point, but in the meantime, there are occasional dates in Connecticut that we do have to drive all the way to do. Um,
Nice. Oh, that's amazing. So that'll wear you
yeah,
down if you got stage fright and you got to suddenly interact with people face to
yeah.
face. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
It's something to really get your feet wet in the performance world, even when you're not able to do anything else, like whether your schedule's busy or the work isn't coming in, there's not a lot to audition for, or you're not hearing back from people. There's always consistent work there. And I have to shout out Brent Bruckner and Maureen Brent, who are the artistic director of the branch, and then our producer, respectively. And they're great individuals and have been great mentors career wise. They've been in the field a lot longer than I have, and it's been great to work for them and work with them on stuff. And you can also submit shows as working for the company. Like, you can write them and submit them. And I can't go into too much detail, but I have submitted one, and I'm working on a second one. And the first one's in like a pre-production phase right now because it has been approved. We're just working on some more drafts and stuff, and that's something I'm really looking
Nice.
forward to and excited to announce when that comes out and when we start playing that, and potentially maybe even dipping my toe into the directing pool, which I've never done before, but that's also exciting to
Do
do as
it.
well. So,
Make it
you know,
happen, man. That's awesome. So you're making your own stories. I mean, this is all such a cool way to visualize what it is that you're up to, going into the city, dealing with the murder mysteries and
mhm.
having a great time. And you're lucky to have those people in your life that you mentioned. I wanted to go backwards about speaking of people in our life and tell me a little bit about where you grew up and what, your family, your folks, if you don't mind.
The folks, the family. Well, my mother and my father, lovely people. I was originally from the Newburgh area, the town of Newburgh area, and then we eventually moved to Wallkill because my parents kept adopting more kids. So we kept having more kids, and as the family grew, we needed a bit bigger of a household, so we got one here in Wallkill. And I spent from I think I was 9 or 10. From that point forward, I spent the rest of my life up to this point kind of in this area. I was like I said before, very shy kid, very sheltered, didn't really had my especially once I moving. I don't know how kids in like army brats, as they're referred to, children
Yeah.
of parents who continuously move, do it, because it was such a shock to move. And I think that's what hit in the awkward phase as well, because I got to grow up with for the first 4 years of school. I got to spend time with this group of people, and then suddenly fourth grade comes and we're in a whole new school. There's a whole new people, there's a whole new group of people who have new interests. Everything that I liked, they apparently stopped liking last year. And and there's a lot of bullying,
Mm.
unfortunately, that goes into that. And unfortunately, I was picked on quite a bit, which didn't help. But we kept going. We made our friends where we could. I value those people, and especially from the point of high school, a lot of those guys are still my friends today.
Oh, that's
Which
great.
I value them, and I've incorporated them into a lot of the indie work that I've done myself, whether it's the sketch work, or I briefly had like a podcast, which you can't find anywhere. I've taken it down. I have all the episodes, so I've maybe a best of compilation comes at some point. But um, you know, in terms of my background, again, very shy, didn't like to go up there. I had the itch to want to do it, but I
Yeah.
didn't. It was too. I don't know.
What were some of your inspirations and like actors or things you loved growing up that made
I
you want to do it?
I was so into. I was very nerdy, so a lot of the stuff was, mostly science fiction. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so that was a really big thing growing up for me. It was one of the only, because my father's in the Marines and was very much this, you know, was he's still alive? Is this like very much like macho man, and sports guy, and he loves baseball, and he was in the Marines for a very long time. we didn't have many points of relation in terms of our interests, but Star Trek was one of those that really got me into the fantastic world of like storytelling and this cool these fantasy worlds that they would go to, and it had great messages of getting along. There were these allegory stories about racism and
Mm.
sexism and all the other isms that you can think of, and how a future where humanity has surpassed it, at least to a degree, and can help others get around it or find new ways in which they are dealing with that themselves and be like, oh, I didn't even realize I was being so bigoted towards these alien people, in a much more clever way than just saying that out loud. Much more well written than I'm
Yeah.
describing it.
No, I
Um,
love the way you're putting it
but
because that I don't think about it like that. It is like it's better almost than a soap opera or different kinds of like cheesy cinema. That
mhm.
there is a message, there is these social commentary
Yeah,
underneath it.
the whole like the saying like art is political, like it was very like that was very directly so, because its creator Gene Roddenberry was very focused on having these messages of like, it's the 1960s, a lot of stuff sucks, let's talk about how we can improve that. And he had his own problems, and we've gotten past those as well, so it continues to grow with the age, with the
Yeah.
time. And it's surprising, even in some of the 80s 90s episodes of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager, that sort of golden era, or silver age, I don't know how you'd measure it, but wound up being so relatable to today without them even intentionally doing so. There are a couple episodes where like there's a whole genderless species that they come across, and there
Mm.
is one of the aliens I starts to want to identify as female, as a woman. And like that, it wasn't supposed to be like a addressing gender, because obviously the term non-binary wasn't really around, and trans people, they've always been here, but like, and they were definitely a thing in the 80s that people knew about, but it was more supposed to be a general like talk about gay people and like homosexuality, what's that like, and why it's so dumb to persecute those people. But now it has a whole new context, which is super fascinating. And
Yeah. Huh,
yeah,
way ahead of its time, it
it,
sounds like.
it's a great episode. It has a very sad ending, unfortunately, but it's still a good episode to watch. It makes you feel some. They don't all have bright, happy endings, because you're not always supposed to leave with that in
Yeah.
certain, in more serious television. And that was my like that. And I would watch a lot of my media consumption growing up with parents who were a lot older. They had me in their 40s. They were a lot older than a lot of other parents. I grew up on MASH, on the original Star Trek and then subsequent series, and then the Golden Girls. And so there was that comedy aspect started coming through. And I was a very big fan of stand up. So I would watch a lot of, I loved Robin Williams and Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy and all that stuff. I couldn't get enough of comedy, and I think that's what really like broke me out of my conversational social shell, because you get through consumption, which is why like a lot of comedy and other performance classes will tell you to watch the performances, go to shows. I was doing like a class speed run at UCB, and there are requirements for each class to see a set amount of shows at the theater, because it's nothing. Obviously the class is useful and the class is great and it has, but there's also something you can't get from the class by simply watching the shows, watching the great laughs they can get and the mistakes of being like, I'm not going to do that. I've learned not to do that, not by having me suffer through that unfortunate incidents, and it sucks that the performer had to do that, but now I know what works and what doesn't, and I get a better understanding as a performer and creator myself as to what can work and what doesn't. So it's really like those were big. I was big into stand up, and I was big into a lot of older television
I
growing up.
love that. There's so many good things there. And yeah, me too. I had parents in their 40s when they had me too. So we were kind of like this uh, having these older souls and the older generation to guide
Hmm.
us and show us what they were into, I think is really cool.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was feeling like there'd be some Jim Carrey in there for you. You and I both were probably heavily influenced by that guy.
Absolutely. I loved The Mask was a big thing as a kid. I
Yeah.
loved that movie. I mean, he, what a great talent as a performer in a variety of ways, not just stand up because, he did great on Mad TV, but also even now. Did you ever watch the show? It was I think it only lasted a couple of seasons before it unfortunately got canceled. It was called Kidding. He played this
Oh my God.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers type.
I loved that. Unreal.
Fantastic show. Oh,
Unbelievable. Yeah, and it gets very, unexpectedly spiritual and beautiful and sci-fi almost,
mhm,
and but just the relationship and the character
mhm.
he played. Yeah, Jim Carrey is one of those guys that to me I think he like we all know him even
Yeah.
when you first meet him and you first see him as a kid. I feel like we all saw ourselves in him. He's so in touch with that
Mhm.
universal inner child that you're like, there's me up there. That's
Yeah.
it's
It's
cool.
it's it's that ability to continue to be animated, to like live as a cartoon character without it being like too corny. Like he's like, nah, and he's got that face for it. He can manipulate. He's such a master of his body and like
Yeah.
what he's capable of doing, whether it's through his voice or through his physicality. He's just so talented and he's so able to do that. And I value that. And that was a big inspiration for my performance style when it comes to especially comedy, obviously. That's
Yeah.
that almost clown level stuff where you can just keep, going through that. So
I
that was a
love it.
big.
You've got that energy, man. And you mentioned I definitely want to talk more about the UCB because that's
Mhm.
something on my bucket list to do as well. So tell us about that and kind of what it was like to go to your first improv class in the city,
Mhm.
not just upstate. And how was that?
It was intimidating, like, I did that wasn't the environment, I'll say that much. I not to be like everyone was so, like, "Mrr," and, because it's the Upright Citizens Brigade for those of you I think we've only used the
Yeah.
shorthand, so for those of you that
Not
don't know.
uptight citizen brigade.
Yeah, exactly. But it was my inspiration for going there was twofold. Obviously, because we had done so much at Happenstancery, I wanted to expand my knowledge even further of improv. And what inspired me to go, this is even leads to Happenstancery as a whole was I was never a big college humor person. Uh, I was very into like once I started having my own ability to consume media online and get into YouTube channels, I was much more interested in the solo artists that were there or the groups of guys that were doing stuff. I had no interest in corporate, college humor or when Smosh expanded to that stuff. And they're doing great stuff now. I mean, it's fantastic with the performers they have, but it was something about it like having a whole company behind it. Uh I don't know, maybe it was like less like niche for me, or it wasn't as like uh truthful, I guess, or not maybe not truthful is not the best word, but it wasn't as um ground level and like it wasn't like, natural. It didn't feel as natural, I guess is the
Yeah,
saying.
and
But
authentic and easy
yeah,
because it was a little more forced now.
yeah, but then, obviously, I grew up and, my media it kept going, and my friends started telling me about this thing that College Humor started doing, which was called Dropout, this streaming service that they had before everybody started getting into it. They
Hmm.
offered this thing, and there were a lot. They were, I believe, still doing some sketches at the time, and then College Humor collapsed, and there was this whole thing, and Sam Reich, who was working as the chief creative officer, I think at the time, wound up buying the company back from the company that had filed for bankruptcy and started creating these improv shows that was game changer, that was make some noise. A lot of the people have probably seen clips of a lot of the performers, the comedians that they've got through there. And I was like, I basically thought to myself, where do these people what do they do? Like how did they get to this point of being so skilled, so on the ball with these improv scenes, and these games are fantastic. Where does this all come from? And I listened to a bunch of interviews with these people, and they all said the same place: Upright Citizens Brigade, the UCB. Go there. Have like that's where you go. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I did. By that point, I had already started going to Happenstancery because I was like, I at least want to do something. I've got a friend that is doing this locally. I might as well, he's open invites. I'll see if he's still up for me to come by. Because I remember when you had originally started Happenstancery, I believe you did message me, and I was unfortunately like working every single day because this was during COVID, and I unfortunately wasn't as lucky as everybody else because I worked at a grocery store, and that's considered essential at a time when the world has shut down, which is fortunate for the world, but I just didn't have time. Unfortunately, as a result, I had to sit there and uh, work at the Stop and Shop Bake Shop. Uh, uh, but to my experiences at Upright Citizens Brigade, when I got there, because I was taking 101 with Donald Chang, shout out Donald Chang, um, fantastic, hilarious guy. Check out his stuff on Instagram, and he's a wonderful comedian. Was so welcoming, and he relates to you on a level that's not so there's not obviously there's a professional separation between your students and the teacher. There always should be. But he doesn't talk to you like you are a student that needs to be like that. He's not, it doesn't feel like it's like you're in class, like you're teaching a lesson. It's helpful advice that he is giving to you. And he was so encouraging and helpful. And if anybody made a mistake, there was a simple factor of we're in class. This is the place where you make those mistakes, and you can, you know, fix that, whatever it was, and we could go back and rewind it, or we can just continue that knowledge that, you could do this instead, or just simply not do this, avoid this, do something else. Um,
Yeah.
it was so helpful, and I loved every second of it. The people there were mostly performers because I started there on weekends, and that's when all the actors come because they all work during the week. So luckily it was a lot of people who were kind of there for the same reasons I was, and they were absolutely great people, and I've made a lot of friends that have made contacts, and they've talked about doing stuff. And from there I did a 201 intensive. I did a weekly class, and I was like, let's see what an intensive is like. So I did 201 as an intensive, also under Donald Chang, because that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me doing that, because I was like, I don't know, it will potentially be cheaper because listen, UCB is expensive. It is, and they are aware of that, and they will tell you that up front. Like there are other places you can go. You can go to BCC if you're going to the city for classes. Obviously, again, Happenstancery is a free option. Just go here, man. Especially if you don't know this is what you want to do. This is a great place to experiment and do that stuff, and it's a whole different experience that offers something that a place like UCB or BCC, which is Brooklyn Comedy
Collective.
Collective. Thank you.
Yeah. They're
Um,
great.
is a great spot, or the Pit, or I don't know if Second City just got a location in New York, which is crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
They literally just opened up. I found this out, so that's also another option. But
Groundlings too for
yeah,
LA, and they do
yep,
online stuff. So
yeah. This
a
is
lot of great.
all. Yeah, I guess this all these are mostly because we're in the Hudson Valley in New York. That's where I'll reference a lot of the places you could go. But obviously, Chicago's the comedy city, as they say, and LA has its own options of, that's got its own UCB, and that's kind of where UCB started in New York, but they closed down in during the pandemic and only had the LA location for a while, and the New York location is kind of still getting back on its feet, but it doesn't feel like that. There is still that established environment of these are the classes, students, we've got so much going on, and there's even more to come.
Yeah,
Um,
just
but
getting started.
it's absolutely, I would encourage you to go, and if you're looking
Yeah,
for a
yeah, yeah.
teacher to go under, Donald Cheng's your guy. He's so funny, and he's so kind and so supportive. I never had a bad day in class.
I love it.
And it
Let me
was
ask you this, just to get one practical piece. What was one like game or exercise that you were like, I got to bring this back to Happenstancery? Is there a simple one you can think of that comes to mind?
um there was there was this interesting one that was like a conversation. There were a couple actually. There were the robot scenes, which were just making sure you establish who you are, where you are, what you're doing, which are like the big three.
Yeah,
And then like
but as a
there
robot.
like as the you're not necessarily doing the scenes. It's sort of that two-line scene thing, and
Yeah,
then
that
being
we
like,
do.
I am this, I am this, we are here, we are doing this, and that's it. And
That's it.
it's not the goal is not to be funny. The goal is to simply get that into your head. And there were other parts where like I don't remember if this had a name or not, but it was the fact of or the idea was that you would engage in a scene without trying to be weird, without trying to be funny, and the class would uh raise their hands if they saw something out of the ordinary, something weird
Yeah,
that you could harness as a character piece, as the weirdo in the scene.
yeah. The
The
first
big
unusual thing,
the
right? The
first
fun.
unusual thing, and you would go to the class and see who did that, and that was a great thing. Did we ever do? I don't know if we ever did the one where it was it like musical circle, where you're in the circle and you're singing the song, and it's got to be like a song based on that. Or we played that. We actually did that
Hotspot
live. We did that. Yeah, I think it's
at
musical hotspot.
Snugs. We did
We did
that.
that live. Yeah, I forgot we did do that. There's just so much that I have to like because it just ended. I'm like
But in a
still
circle, I like that.
processing that. Yeah, you're like hopping in the circle when a lyric that someone is singing is in there, and
Reminds you.
the idea is to not leave the person in the circle for too long. It's a game of supporting people with new ideas, with new gifts, if you will, always gifting people stuff. There are definitely some good lessons uh, that I was very eager to learn. Finding the game of a scene, which is what's funny about it. Each dynamic of a scene, whether it's what we used to call a straight man, which is now the voice of reason, because I guess straight man could be misconstrued. Fair enough. And then the weirdo, and going into that, or a peas in the pod, where you're both weirdos, and how
Yeah,
that differentiates a scene. And there was so much structure, but obviously, as any improv instructor or improviser will tell you, the rules are there, but if it's funny or if you break the rules, it's fine. They're like tips. They're
yeah.
advice, you know?
Guidelines. They keep you on a good track. I'm so
Right.
glad you went and did this because it's only going to help us. I feel like, the next time we all get together and do it, just like you said on how we're supporting each other and making it so nobody's up there alone. I'm
Hmm.
always excited when you're in the sidelines and you, me, and Topher and Charlie. And, we got
Absolutely.
this great group going right now with Kai and just
Hmm.
an incredible, amazing group of people that have been in your class. And we've had this amazing show at Beacon in the church basement. That was a lot of fun, huh?
Absolutely. I loved that. Actually, I use some of that footage for my actor's reel. That's currently, which,
Nice.
so thank you for filming the show, first and foremost. I don't know
I
if you've
might
been,
put some at the end of this podcast, a little snippet
oh,
from it. What was your
yeah.
favorite part that you used?
I, a couple of things. There was the, I don't, yes, I did the one scene where you guys were basically psychotic kindergartners or second graders, I don't remember,
Yes.
and then I wound up being the teacher.
Yep.
And there's that, I think it was like the second round we did that scene. I'm like, look at me, or maybe it was the third, but I came in from the audience and I'm like, look at my face, like, look at what these children did to me,
You
basically,
ruined
this like,
me.
yeah, this villain speech. And then I did the Meryl Streep acceptance speech at the end of the Oscars bit.
You were Meryl Streep. This is what I only remember because you
I
were a
did.
damn good Meryl.
What's funny is I haven't seen a lot of stuff that she's been in. I know the general like her vibe, I guess, and that was something because like Topher basically was like, "This is what we're doing. We're in Meryl Streep's basement, and no one was jumping it." So I was like, "All right, let's do it." And so I found this door on the side of the stage, and I just boom, and I came out just sort of as this like hello, like that was one of my favorite bits that we've done was a lot of fun. And then the game of like uh all the servants wanting to like get spanked or whatever. You
Yeah,
came in
we
and
all.
Kai came in and everyone was like, spit on me. It was
Yeah.
such a crazy a crazy scene. And I'm so excited to do those scenes with you guys again. You've been a great team to harness the new skills that are in there. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
One
I
of the
love it.
one of the hardest things to bang out, not asking questions. Such a big thing that they're like hammering like
What do
don't
you
ask
mean?
like
How
yeah,
so?
like what who are you? Like there
What are
was
we doing? Yeah.
so much that you can skip by like so much established stuff to get to the funny parts earlier by simply saying like, hey Jared, it's cool that we're here at the fishing pond and we're looking for cheese, like it's
Yeah.
it may be weird, but also fourth wall breaks and meta stuff can really get a laugh. Like guys like Ben Schwartz, who
Yeah.
constantly look almost like a Jim from The Office kind of thing, as not physically doing this, but figuratively looking out to the audience and being like, meh, like he's I recommend watching his stuff. It's great. But he's
Middleditch and
constantly
Schwartz.
Middleditch
So
and
good.
Schwartz.
Best duo ever.
Yes, fantastic Netflix specials. He also has free stuff on YouTube under, I think his YouTube name is Rejected Jokes. He's got a tour called Ben Schwartz and Friends that he will upload scenes from. They'll usually include the interview with the person that's inspired these scenes, and then they will show you those performances. And he's got great roster of comedians that swap in and out of that show. It's a fantastic program. But yeah, again, meta stuff. The audience can love when you're in on it too. You can all sort of bond over like this is weird that we're doing this right now, and it's easy to do that as sort of a more of a voice of reason as opposed to the weirdo, because the weirdo has to like live in that
Stay true
reality
to
of like,
that.
this is me. I'm kicking chairs. That's
I'm
my
committing
thing.
to the bit. Yep. I'm
Yeah.
all in on the kicking chairs business.
Yeah, there's so much. I'm so excited to harness that with you guys and bring that stuff there. And you're already have been doing this for so long, and I've valued everything that you've given. And you're ah,
Thank
this
you
is
so
such a
much.
I have such a good time talking to you, man. Like it's such a great time. You got such a positive energy about you. I appreciate
Oh, thank you so much. I love doing these interviews and they go by so fast. And by the end of it,
that.
yeah, I think when people rewatch it, they're like, oh my God, thank you, Joe. You really, held space. Like our last guest on the episode before you, check out Karali Pizzoli, who just
Mm-hmm.
had a book come out. She's like a career rebirth person. So it's pretty amazing to hear that people are happy with the talks. But I feel like you've got a couple more things to talk about. Like we didn't even talk about that you were an amazing morning radio person.
Yeah,
Though it kind of
I
ended.
did. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Such as I've had, corporations, man. No, I've always, I don't know why my life has just been leaning me towards that sort of anti-corporate guy. Not that it's, I don't want to get corny about it or whatever, but yeah, for about 4 years, I got this listing on Backstage, which is a casting website. Very useful. I've booked pretty much everything I've ever done on there, on a professional level anyway. Which is why I thought, because right after graduating college, this little small fun story, I booked voiceover for this, because a lot of stuff I haven't talked about doing this as much through this interview, but I do a lot of voiceover work, and almost right out of the gate from college, I booked maybe a few months after I graduated, I booked this Nerf commercial for like Hasbro, which is the toy company, and I love playing Nerf, with the darts and shooting them and stuff. I booked the voiceover for this, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know what everybody's talking about. This is gonna be easy as hell. I'll just keep booking these." Wrong. I booked like nothing after that, until this opportunity came along where they were like, we're looking for this radio host who's good at performing, and also you're going to be running the soundboard. So audio engineering was a plus, and those were both two things that I did in college that I was like, let's do it. So I hit him up and applied for the gig, and I got it. And I co-hosted a show with a journalist named Jeff Lewis. Great guy, old enough to be my dad, but there were so many points that we could relate on because he's kind of a dork too. So we had a lot of the same media interests, and there were a lot of things because it was news. This was not just like us, farting around. We had to like come up with, and this was, I had started getting into, politics and uh, getting familiar with the world around me beyond just what's fun, because there's a lot of stuff that's not as fun, but like we should try and like help people, I guess, and on a tangible level, on a material level. Um so I started sort of getting into that, and then this came along, which kind of like put that into the forefront, and
Right.
thus made that some a priority. And I was figuring out how to juggle all of this, and it really you know I guess really helped the performance skill, especially because no one can see you. So it was just us riffing on this AM radio show. It was on WRCR AM 1700 in Rockland County, New York. Unfortunately, I mean, the station still exists. The frequency is still operational, but ABC wound up purchasing it and unfortunately collapsing that sort of thing. So now it just kind of airs ABC stuff. It could be different now. You could listen whenever you're listening to this. You could check it out. But it was very small. There were only about 5 of us that worked there at any given time. Um, and I mean that as in employees, not even just us in the studio. Like us in the morning was just Jeff and myself. Like it was us, and I worked the board and I answered the phones, and he had the news. He would write the news every day, which was mostly locally focused, but we would, talk about politics and music and movies, and it spanned everything. And it was a fantastic experience, and I was really thrown into the deep end because um, he was like, after we started building this rapport. He fell into a diabetic coma pretty shortly after I got hired.
Oh
I was
no.
very new. I had no prior radio experience. I had my own podcast briefly when I was in college, and that was fun. But that was just me, having some fun with my friends. We didn't do anything serious with it, and so this was a brand new experience, and he was unfortunately going through his own health issues, and wound up going into a coma for like 3 days and was out for, I think, 2.5 months. He went out in March and didn't come back till like the middle of May. And so I was on my own for a good chunk of that period. And I,
Wow.
I have to, shout out Carrie Potter and Lou Young, who's like a locally famous retired ABC reporter.
Hmm.
Um, not on the radio, mostly like locally to the New York area, who was
Yeah.
also a great mentor in advice in the media world. But and Scott Stout and a bunch of people who would host other shows that were willing to come in at 5:45 in the morning. Sorry, my lighting's changing. I have my windows open and it's like the sun's going down. But they were willing to come in and help me when they could. There were days where I had to do the whole 4-hour show, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, by myself, and interview town supervisors and businesses that would advertise, and special guests and congressmen. Eventually, one of the it was mostly local officials on the town level, but also the state. So your state assemblyman, your state senator, which are different than federal senators. But then one of the assemblymen that we interviewed became a congressman. So that was kind of wild. You know, we got to have an excuse to sort of talk about broader topics, which for the most part are pretty dark. But it was cool to have that opportunity at least, which was
Yeah,
something that I value.
I love it, man. I mean, you have had such an amazing career, and you're still a young guy, and you got a lot of bright things and days ahead of you, man. This is incredible. So
Yeah,
you've been
there,
thrown in the fire quite a few times.
there. I thankfully, yeah, the improv stuff has definitely helped in my skill to think on the fly and be able to operate when you have no floaties in the swimming pool. There is no safety net. Having a safety net would be lovely. And when Jeff finally did come back to the show and we had that cemented sort of, they called us like a married couple, the way we'd sort of bicker back and forth. It was very fun. And every time someone would bring it up, because it was a call-in show, so we got to,
Yeah.
talk to the fans and stuff. I would always say, I love you, Jeff. And we are still very close. We've talked about doing stuff potentially in the future together. But that's still in a very, pre-production phase. We've met with sponsors and stuff, maybe, like there's a lot of stuff, that I value through teaching that through being taught that I am excited to bring into, whether that's the improv stuff or what an aspect of the UCB classes that I hadn't mentioned, which is I also took sketch. So sketch writing was a big, writing those every week was awesome, was so fun. And it was so fun to read those out every week, and see other people's ideas. And uh,
Ooh.
I had some of those people come up to me after class and want to work on stuff outside of class. Going to classes is a great way to network, and it's not like uh, a very shallow version of it of, hi, I do this, like you get to know these people over time and you get to be friends with them, you get to like them on a personal level and also appreciate their work and their creativity and what they bring to the table that maybe you don't, that you can add through collaboration. And it's great, something that I value through Happenstancery and everything else that I've been able to
Yeah,
do.
we're
You know,
all a part of the troop, and you have been lucky to bring a lovely person to many practices as well. Do you want to shout them out?
I'll shout out Ariana, my girlfriend. What's up, baby? Love you.
We do love you,
uh,
Ariana. You're
yes,
amazing.
she is a fantastic makeup artist, like a special effects artist and a cosplayer, and a performer in her own right. She's not as comfortable in the improvisational space, but she likes to do it when she can. But she's a very uh, fantastically skilled artist, who
Yes.
I've had the privilege of knowing for many years before we wound up in a relationship, which I'm very grateful for. And she's a astoundingly supportive person. She has come to like every single show I've ever done, with the improv stuff, with Happenstancery or my class shows, because unfortunately with sketch at UCB, you only get to do the class show for 301. So you have to do 101, 201, and then finally you get to put on your own sketch show, which I kind of understand because you have to get costumes and actors and writers, and it's a whole thing. But with improv, after every level, you're doing a show. And she's come to both of those, and she came to, I think she saw Camera Ready once or twice, and then unfortunately she couldn't come to um, Alice a Trip to Wonderland. But like she comes to everything. She's such a supportive individual. Can I show you this? She got me. I told her not to do this, but she did anyway. She got me as a graduation gift, because I'm a big Star Trek fan. We mentioned this earlier.
Hang on, bring it a
A
little closer.
Well, hold on.
Let's see.
I'm
Oh, he's
getting it
still
right
grabbing.
now. Um,
Oh, I'm
a
excited.
a Star Trek Enterprise drone that you
Oh
can
my.
see here. It's got the propellers. It doesn't have like a camera on it. It's not like a professional, like one of those crazy drones. But this I've had charging on my desk for like like 24 hours because it takes a while. But she got me this.
You're gonna go fly that and be like Captain Kirk.
Yes, I can live out my fantasy as always, wanting to do this. I've actually seen there's a set replica up in Ticonderoga that I actually went to go see.
Oh.
I'd recommend it if you're a Star Trek fan out there and you're listening to this. Great tours. It used to be the set for a fan series called like Star Trek Phase 2, which unfortunately ended. But they still operate it with the permission of Paramount, who owns the rights, to do like set tours, and they've got some props from the actual original series because most of it's just a recreation. But it was just a really awesome experience to be there and learn some stuff about the show and do stuff. And sometimes they even have the actors in. I didn't go for like a tour with like William Shatner, who goes there like all the time. I'd love to eventually. I'd go back. But yeah,
Shatner's coming. We got to go back. Well,
one of my favorite impressions to do, by the way, is Shatner.
Oh, let's hear it. We got to hear your Shatner.
Spock, what do we do here? This alien species is difficult to talk to.
It's that's a lot of it's a lot of the crunching. He did this a lot for dramatic. Just this.
I can't believe we're here, Bones. Scotty, we need more power to the engines.
I got complimented once on that by, I don't remember the actor's name, but I was an extra for this show called weren't you working on the White House Plumbers?
Yeah, I was on that.
You were on
for
the
a day.
Yeah. I don't know if it was that day, but they were filming in Newburgh under the Motorcyclepedia, which is a motorcycle museum in Newburgh. They built a soundstage under that, and we're filming the White House Plumbers. I'm pretty sure I could say that. And then I was as a background, I was just screwing around with this. They had this old style, because if you're not familiar with the show, it takes place in the 70s. It's about the Watergate scandal with Nixon. And they had this old tape recorder there with a microphone. And I kept going,
Captain's log, stardate 572.1. We're here.
and one of the stars of the show, like walked in and saw me doing it and was like, "That's a sick Shatner, dude," and like walked out. And I was very appreciative of that moment. I also said hi to Woody Harrelson, and he said, and I quote, and then just walked away. So those are two great memories from that show.
Well, hopefully many more to come and many more stars await. And remember, you are a star, Will. This life,
you're a star, Joe.
Shining bright, brother. We both are. I can't wait to be back on stage with you again soon.
Absolutely, brother. My pleasure. I love this, and I love what you do, and I love this podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. I listened to both of the Topher episodes. I started listening to the last one. I haven't finished it yet. The one before me, who you were mentioning beforehand.
Yeah,
Raleigh. Great stuff. Great artists and creatives that you've got on this, and it's just a fantastic. And thank you for letting me come on here. That you found me interesting enough to let me rant about my life for an hour.
You inspire me, man. You inspire all of the other actors and the people who maybe thought they couldn't do it. You've given us a real story here that you don't always know how your opportunities are going to come or how you're going to get the skills, but with persistence, with putting yourself out there, getting on backstage, saying yes to some 5:45 a.m. radio show, you've really said yes to life, and that's why you are going to be successful continuously. And I'm so glad to talk with you, man. And to close the show, I'm going to show you a little clip of Will as Meryl Streep and some of our amazing performance there at God's Basement. But thank you so much for coming on the show, Will. You feel good, happy with the talk?
I'm feeling great. If you're feeling great, man, it's your show. I'm just here to, be here.
One other thing I'll do to close us out into the clip. Tell me about the tambourine that you always used to bring to our live shows and where you got it.
Do you want me to see if I have it real quick?
Yeah.
Jack,
I'll go ahead and grab it and tell me the story of it. And I'll hold down the fort here. Ooh, it's It's been a good show with Hennessy.
Okay. I can't find it, but
So just
it
tell
might
me the
be
story.
in my car. But essentially, what it was, one of my lighting fixtures fell down. It didn't really affect the lighting too much, so I won't mess
Don't
with it too
fret.
much.
Yeah, we're
But
basically at the end here.
basically, when my uncle, one of my mom's older brothers, passed away, they had to go out to Arizona where he was living and bring his stuff back. And he was a very musical person. He would always bring this tambourine around. And they talked about it actually at the funeral that he would, wherever he would go, he would have that tambourine in his car. And it was it's this silver tambourine with these red, yellow, and green lights that would light up every time you hit it. It actually had like a battery pack in it, and it would light up every time you shook it or you hit it if you turned it on. And he would go there wherever there was music. If there was going to be music, he would have the opportunity to join in using the tambourine. My uncle Stuart McKenzie, by the way, got to shout him out. He's unfortunately passed, but he was a great guy. We would, I saw it on top of this box after the funeral, and was like, what's going to happen with that? And my mom kind of looked at me and was like, do you want it? Because I don't know, it's just going to kind of go in a box of his stuff, or at least like we're not sure who would want it. And if you want to take it because no one else is going to take this tambourine, go ahead. And I have that. It's in my possession, and it's probably in my car right now. And I should have thought to take it out.
No. You keep that in your car for the next show because
you know what?
Hey!
I'm dumb. It's in my instrument drawer. I forgot I had that.
All right, now so let's play us out with a little bit of that to honor.
Unfortunately, the lights aren't working, but yeah.
Keep the rhythm alive. Oh, Joe's Java Jive. Keep the rhythm alive. Keep the magic alive. Oh, thank you, Will Hennessy. It's been so nice, you're a friend to me. I'm very thankful for you and your journey too. Shine on you crazy night. Each beat rises and falls. Yeah. Shine your light for the world to see. Call your best friend or he be. Ooh, you'd be low, so lucky if it were Will Hennessy.
Yeah, it's really hard to do that over Zoom because of the delay.
It sounded pretty good. You picked a wild enough rhythm that I think it worked. Man,
thank
you so much, Will. Any last words to anybody out there who maybe is trying to be creative but doesn't know how? Last words.
Don't be afraid to make your own opportunity. Don't be afraid to ask the people around you for support, whether that's holding a camera for you or being a character for you, or for them to read your script and give you their thoughts. Don't be afraid to create. Ask, and harness the people around you, harness the creative people around you, and have some fun. Have a good time.
Woo, we can do it together. Peace, love, and coffee. Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you, Joe.
Meryl Streep, get back in there! Get back! Which zoo did you get him from?
The Bronx?
The Bronx Zoo. Do you know what they do to their tigers there?
They let us kidnap them?
Fair enough. All right, well, anyway. All right, what do we have set up on the second floor?
This is your spitting mirror.
Thank you. Yes. I need this to train in my role. Magic mirror, please awaken.
I was already awake this time. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of hard to tell. Your eyes are like always open, so it's kind of just...
Yeah.
All right.
My mouth too.
I'll kind of like double check next time. Okay, well, I kind of, I don't need you to spit on me this time, but we're kind of having sort of a camera crew come in. You can see them, they're kind of setting up here.
Yeah.
So if you could kind of just give them a little example of what you do. You don't have to do it on me.
You can do it on me. You can do it on anyone who works for Love Lashes.
This guy's big into the lashes thing. Could we do spitting as like a sort of a substitute? Okay, we can work that out.
Okay.
Great.
So he's kind of gonna, like, when the camera's all set up, he's gonna kind of bend over in front of me, and I'll just sort of be spitting right onto him like that.
Do you? What position
This
are
helps
you
you
gonna
get
be in?
character. No, I thought I was gonna play the bidet. I thought that was my role.
All right, we'll work you out a little later. This is a part of my process that all sort of comes
All
together.
actors go through this.
Yes, every actor has a spitting mirror and a previous magic mirror that you saw earlier today.
It's a spitting image of you, Meryl.
Yes. Oh, 20 lashes for you.
I'm sorry.
All right.
You'll just win more Oscars, don't worry.
I don't know if this one's a winner, Meryl. Might be too experimental.
All right, you need to let it out a little bit. All right, I'll let you let it out.
Let it out.
Go ahead. All right. Good. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad we've been in this room long enough to get there. Thank
Meryl,
you.
you're sure this is all kosher, with the COVID stuff, with precautions?
I've been
No,
tested. I've tested very regularly. Don't worry.
Yeah, we make him wear a mask when we wheel him outside just to get some sunlight. So it's a pretty much a part of
It's
this.
a GIMP mask, but it works.
Yeah, we zip it closed. So.
Bravo, guys. This is the best painting we've ever made. We've painted the whole school black. I can't believe it.
Here at Sotheby's, we're taking bids now for the painting by the children. We're starting the bids at a mere $100 million. Yes, 100 million, 100 million, 100 million two, 100 million. When you're at 100 million three, 100 million three. Okay.
I'll take it.
Your bid?
No.
What?
Consider it what you owe me for costing me my tenure at the school.
Oh no, he's scary.
You disgusting children. You're scaring me. Look what you've done to me. I'm sorry. Look at my face. Oh, it's horrible. My left eye doesn't work anymore. This is glass.
I think it kind of looks pretty.
I know.
Shut up. What do you stop? Stop with the paint.
Put some turquoise on.
Stop it. No, stop. Get back in this thing. Get back
This
in
is part of the piece. Do I have 1.5? I have 1.6 million dollars. Sold. You're part of the art piece now. You have a home now. You don't have to be a teacher. You're gonna be up on an art wall. You're gonna be up on an art wall. Yeah, you're gonna be better than that banana with duct tape.
I deserve this.
You deserve it.
I deserve this. I got a whole bunch more turquoise paint coming now out of the bucket. Yeah! Now we're in first grade. Goodbye. I am one with the clam. I am one with the clam.
You are all now clowns. You are all now clowns.
You are the pearl of my oyster. I never could have done this without you.
Please have a confession to make.
Yeah, tell me, you salty bitch. Tell me.
Actually, there's no salt in my clam chowder.
Really?
No.
What are you, New Manhattan style?
You know why we are in this calamity?
Why are we in this calamity, and why am I? This is the only move I have now.
I prayed for this. This is the ingenuity of human evolution. We're clams. We are clams. This is heaven. This is the peak of human evolution.
We are all one with the clan.
We're all one with the clams, people, whether you like it or not. It's only a matter of time. We're infecting you. Fly to the clam. Let me sing under the seas. Let me see what spring is like on Joe. We did it my way. And we're going to decide what the winning award is. Is it Dancing with Calamity? Make some noise for Dancing with Calamity.
Or was it Turquoise Kindergarten?
Or Meryl Streep's bathroom. Meryl Streep's bathroom. Speech. Put them in my gown. Put them in my gown. I love you, Meryl.
Thank you. I want to thank the camera crew that came in. I want to thank my parents. They made me. Without them, I would not exist. I want to thank the producer. I want to thank... Oh, the mirror, yeah. The mirror was pretty good.
You got the mirror.
The first one, the second one was kind of gross. I kind of wish we got that out. It's fine. I did put something in my gown to unveil to you. I packed my neighbor's crows into my gown here to sort of release upon my inevitable victory. So here you go.